Hey everybody, welcome back. There are three types of democracy that this lesson focuses on: participatory, pluralist, and elite democracy. But before we get to those, let's start with the basics, and smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. First of all, democracy means ruled by the people. And in the last video, I told you that the Constitution established the US as a republic, not a democracy. And yet the unit and the first two modules have the word democracy in the title. That's kind of weird. Truth be told, we need to be more specific when we say democracy. Direct democracy, sometimes referred to as pure democracy, means that people vote directly on policies. This is the type of democracy that we don't have at the federal level. But just to keep you on your toes, some state and local governments do have some forms of direct democracy. For example, some states allow for initiatives, where citizens can write a proposed bill or amendment and then get it placed on the ballot where it can actually be voted on by the residents of that state. And some states have referenda, basically the same idea, but a member of the state government writes the bill, and then it's placed on the ballot to be approved by the state's residents. These are both examples of direct democracy, which again exists only at the state level, not at the federal level. The US is a representative democracy, where citizens are allowed to vote for representatives who make the policies. If that definition sounds a little familiar, don't worry, you won't have to distinguish between republicanism and representative democracy. The fact of the matter is that the framers established a republic and not a democracy, for one thing, because they didn't trust the people. Many of them felt that the people just could not be trusted with that kind of power, and we would end up having just mob rule. This is where those three types of democracy mentioned at the outset come in. The framers wanted the people to have some power politically, and obviously the Declaration of Independence said that people are the source of governmental power. So the question becomes, how much democracy is the right amount? How much power should the people have? And how is that power best exercised? Participatory democracy emphasizes broad participation by citizens in politics and civil society. This is the idea that people should be actively involved in their government, influencing policymaking, and that their voices should be heard. We're thinking of things like protests, demonstrations, and marches. For example, social movements like Black Lives Matter, March for Our Lives, the Tea Party, or Occupy Wall Street are all examples that got large numbers of citizens involved and participating in politics. Your required document, Brutus number 1, can be used to support participatory democracy, but more on that in another video. The second type of democracy is pluralist democracy, and this emphasizes the role of group-based policymaking. The two best examples of policymaking groups are political parties and interest groups. People form groups or political parties with like-minded people who share their goals and values and then work together as a group to promote their policy agenda, rather than each person working in isolation. We associate Federalist number 10 with pluralist democracy. Admittedly, the line between participatory and pluralist democracy can sometimes seem a little bit blurry. For example, think about March for Our Lives. Does that better embody participatory or pluralist democracy? It has elements of both. People are actively involved, demonstrating and marching, so that's clearly participatory. But on the other hand, it's a group of people with a united purpose trying to influence policy, so it has elements of pluralist democracy in there too. On a test, my advice is take notice of what the question is emphasizing. If it's focused on individual actions of people, it's probably participatory. And if it's emphasizing the collective role of the group, it's probably pluralist. The third type of democracy is elite democracy, and this emphasizes a limited or filtered role for the people, where a small group of elites have a disproportionate amount of political power. With elite democracy, there is a distrust of the people, so there needs to be a filter between the people and policymaking. A point of emphasis and debate is which of these types of democracy is promoted by the Constitution, and the answer is kind of all of them. In some ways, the Constitution embodies elite democracy. It sets up a republican form of government where people vote for other people to represent them and make policies. And how people kind of get to vote for the president, but really it's the Electoral College who actually chooses the president. But there are other parts that promote or at least make participatory democracy possible. We can think of things like the First Amendment's freedom of speech and press protections. We can also think of amendments that increase suffrage, allowing more people to vote and have their voices heard politically. Specifically, the 15th, 19th, and 26th Amendments expanded the right to vote to people of all races, sexes, and ages 18 and older. And the Constitution also sets the stage for pluralist democracy by the First Amendment's freedom of assembly, allowing for the creation of interest groups and political parties. Alright, that's it for this one. Thanks again for watching, and if this video helped, then please help me out with our YouTube overlords and hit that like button, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Until next time, this has been a The Money Production. And hey, be sure to check out the Ultimate Review Packet for all your studying and test prep needs. Practice tests, study guides, exclusive videos, it's all there. And I will see you in the next video.